if the 49ers have an abysmal year and someone has to go on the chopping block, would you rather replace Kyle Shanahan or replace John Lynch? I say replace because you wouldn't fire Kyle. You would think you could trade him. Lynch, you would fire.
So I am one of the members of the Kyle Shanahan stands, right? I am one of the biggest Kyle Shanahan fans, and I am not changing up anything for this type of question either, right? I am replacing John Lynch 100 times out of 100 when it comes to this, because I don't think there's a replacement for Kyle Shanahan. Clearly, just based off of record, Kyle Shanahan hasn't been the type of, hasn't brought the winning seasons that you would like being the head coach. But I look at it as an overall picture, the abysmal situation that the 49ers were before Kyle Shanahan came, and all the progress that has been made in the locker room as far as the talent. And, it's just about putting it all together and playing to the level of potential that we have. And I think that Shanahan is just a genius. There's not that many geniuses as far as offensive-minded individuals like Kyle Shanahan in the league. I also think he's a better leader than I think you think of Kyle Shanahan. I think he does a really great job developing coaching staff, and the players love him. It's really hard to find in a coach, and I think that it's somebody that needs to be stuck with, and hopefully this season we get to perform the way that we need to perform so that it cements what we already know he's capable of.
Yeah, but we're talking about a hypothetical future where the Niners just go 5-12 and things fall apart.
Same answer.
Okay, I'm going to explain why I'm going to say Kyle Shanahan.
Okay.
Because to me, John Lynch is irrelevant. And what does he do with the 49ers? He gives them integrity. He's a man of his word. He's a Hall of Famer. If he says it, you can feel like he's basically not lying to you too much because he's John Lynch. And I think more than just the fans, I think players, he's the liaison between the players and ownership. And if he says something to the players, they feel like they can take it to the bank. And they haven't had anyone in that organization like that for a long time. Other than that, is he picking the players, or is it Adam Peters and Kyle Shanahan and Mike Shanahan? I don't really know what John Lynch does in this team other than give it a face with integrity, which is important. But if they're losing, it's not because of John Lynch. And if they're winning, it's not because of John Lynch. You know what I'm saying? It's a Kyle Shanahan production. And so if you feel like there's something that needs structural change, Kyle Shanahan's a structure. That's the way I look at it. It might be tough to replace him, or you might find that people like Brian Daboll, Eric Bieniemy, the hottest upcoming offensive coaches want to work with Trey Lance and George Kittle and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. You don't know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if Jed York comes to the conclusion, like, man, I got to change something drastic, replacing John Lynch isn't really doing anything. All that does is give Kyle Shanahan more power, most likely, and strengthen the structure that he's created, which may have termites in it. I don't know. I just feel like getting rid of John Lynch doesn't really do much. Getting rid of Kyle Shanahan may be too drastic, but you might be able to get someone good to replace him, and you might get some first-round picks for that guy. I don't know. If he wins 5 games this year, he may not be worth 2 firsts, but he may be worth something.
Yeah, and I think that so initially when Shanahan and Lynch were brought out, when they first signed in 2017, it was like everybody was on the same page, and that relationship seems like it's deteriorated more than strengthened over the last 4 or 5 years. So I don't know. I think that maybe some of the messaging that may create some controversies are things that John Lynch does have to take some responsibility for. Obviously, especially with the quarterback competition, I think that if it was Kyle Shanahan, there wouldn't be a competition. I think the messaging is more coming from Lynch. I think things like that, because Lynch is the media, the mouthpiece for the 49ers, up until Kyle Shanahan being the media darling he is right now, right? And I think that one of the reasons Kyle Shanahan's coming out more is probably because he's a little upset about the messaging that's coming out. And so maybe it's kind of like addition by subtraction. Splitting them makes Kyle Shanahan elevate, because, like you said, it gives him more power and maybe some of that confusion. Not that it affects the play, but distractions are distractions. So who knows?
Here's the one thing I want to say, because look, if they have a down year, I think that Jed most likely will do what you're saying, is hold John Lynch accountable. If I were advising Jed York, all I would say is, or ask is, before you fire John Lynch, tell me why you feel he's responsible for the issues that are facing your team and what a replacement can do to fix them. Because I'd like to hear why John Lynch is responsible for this stuff. Because I know he's the general manager, which technically usually has more power than the head coach. But in this organization, he's a figurehead. So to me, it feels like a cosmetic change, Like, let me change the makeup I wear. Let me change my haircut. Like, nah, man, you have a gastrointestinal issue. You need to take Tums and Alka-Seltzer. You got to get deep in there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. We're talking about a theoretical future we can't predict. But Jed has to really figure out what John Lynch does there. I don't know what he does. I like John Lynch. I don't know what he does.
Right. And I don't see – so if Kyle Shanahan gets replaced, I think Lynch gets replaced as well. I could only see it the other way if Kyle Shanahan
together, they get fired together, yeah.
Well, not necessarily what I'm saying. I'm saying that if Kyle Shanahan goes, I think Lynch goes as well. But I could see a situation where Kyle Shanahan stays and Lynch goes. I can't see a situation where John Lynch stays and Kyle Shanahan goes.
The only thing I could think is if, like, John Lynch does really represent the organization with integrity and class, and they want to win with class. And he does a very good job. You never see, like, John Lynch really made the Niners look bad today. He never does. Kyle is flirting with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, the throw being maybe a little tipsy, and then like have double fists and Jack and Cokes at the MLB All-Star game. It's just like kind of stuff where I don't care. But you wonder what Jed York thinks. It's like, now you're on the podcast with Sean McVay. Now you're at the MLB All-Star game getting a little loose. Now it's like, like NASCAR. I just don't have to exactly, like I'm never gonna worry about John Lynch doing something like that. I'm just trying to get inside the mind of Jed York, you know what I'm saying? And it seems like Kyle is like a kid, like pushing the envelope. Like, is my dad gonna get mad if I do this?
But look, Jed York's Twitter rant during the draft is so more weird Kyle Shanahan behavior than John Lynch behavior. So maybe Jed York, I think Jed York and Kyle Shanahan enjoy each other a lot more than Jed York and Lynch enjoy each other. And I think that if you're worried about –
That's true. I agree.
If you're worried about as an owner, you wouldn't do what you did on draft night and then be worried about what Kyle Shanahan's doing this offseason. To me, what York did is much more of a what are you doing right now than anything that Shanahan has done. And I think there is a conversation that happened this offseason that made York and Shanahan – be a lot more loose this offseason than any other offseason we've ever seen. I wish, and somehow, Grant, you have to figure out what happened in that conversation because something happened and things are different now. And I'm all for it.
I just feel like it's kind of like like the parent sits down the kid and they're like, look, man, you can't keep getting C- on your math test. You just can't. I'm putting my foot down. You've gotten 3 C- on your last 4 tests. You got to get an A on the next test. And the kid is almost like sulking. It's like, I'm not talking to you. You don't understand. It wasn't my fault. There's all these reasons. You don't get me. You never understand. You always blame me for everything. And it's like, he's almost kind of sulking and not talking to his parents. And the parents are like, oh, was I too hard on him? Should I not have said that? I think it's almost that kind of situation because Jed likes Kyle, wants it to work with Kyle. But at the same time, Jed has to say, you got to win this year. He has to say that. Right? And he has to.
I haven't seen anything that points in that direction, though. So, like, what I'm saying is, like, to use your same analogy, maybe there's a mother and a father that are sitting down, and maybe Lynch is the mother, like, in this situation, and they both sat down and they're like, this is what needs to be done. And in the corner, York being the dad is like,
Lynch is getting talked to also.
Okay,
Lynch and Kyle are getting talked to side by side.
So maybe let's say they're brothers.
Yeah. Okay.
But Shanahan is the brother that Jed York as the father figure is going out and drinking with. And the other one is like, just like, he's like, man, why can't you be more like your other brother? You know what I mean? And so like, I think it's more like that. And, you know, this whole hot seat, everything you're saying is extremely logical. If he loses, this will be what, 4 out of the last 5. 4 out of the 5 that were.
But we don't expect him to lose. None of us do.
Correct. But everything you say is logical. However, to give him the pieces to make the trade that he made, to give him the freedom to have the offseason that he's having.
You wouldn't just pull the plug after 1 year.
I'm seeing nothing that shows me Kyle Shanahan is in fear of anything. And
he doesn't seem fearful, no.
And he has.
It's almost like Jed York was like, if you don't win this year, then I'm gonna think about maybe getting you in trade.
That might be the conversation. I have to do this for the camera.
Exactly. So he seems like a really weak parent. You know what I mean? The one that wants to put his foot down, but won't. And the kid knows it. Basically, like, can you hurry up? Like, I've heard this before. I know you're not going to do anything. Now I'm going to the MLB All-Star Game. See ya. Yeah. He seems like a weak parent.
I'm trying to tell stuff. But does he, as the coach, need permission to do these type of events? Like a player would need the permission?
I don't think Kyle feels like he needs permission. I don't think he's asking permission, man. I don't think
contract-wise, dude. But contractually, are they obligated to like? Because I mean, obviously, there's stuff that
no double fisting Jack and Cokes at MLB All-Star games. That could be. I mean, you could put whatever you want. I guess it's not in his extension. You know,
that's funny.